Good afternoon and welcome to this important debate in the expansive riding of Algonquin, Renfrew, Pembroke. We are here in a region that is defined by its natural beauty, its strong sense of community, and its rich history. Algonquin, Renfrew, Pembroke is a riding of considerable size, encompassing a diverse range of communities from the urban center of Pembroke to the many smaller towns and rural areas that dot the landscape. This riding has a history of strong representation, and the voters here are known to be very engaged in the political process. Historically, this riding has evolved over time, with its current boundaries reflecting the unique geography of the Ottawa Valley. And as we know, the riding's name itself reflects the merging of distinct regions, and this brings together a large array of constituents with widely varying needs. The residents of Algonquin, Renfrew, Pembroke are deeply connected to the land, with industries like forestry, agriculture, and tourism playing a vital role in the local economy. The region's strong military presence, particularly around Garrison Petawawa, also adds a unique dimension to the community. Today, we have the opportunity to hear from the candidates who are seeking to represent the diverse voices of the region in the House of Commons. They will address critical issues facing Algonquin, Renfrew, Pembroke, and the country as a whole. Let's begin by introducing our candidates. Cindy Mills is a devoted community leader with a proven record of business success. Cindy's magazine, Canadian Military Family Magazine, for 15 years has provided military families with informative, inspiring, and practical content. Last year, the website had over 1.7 million page views. Along with her role as president of the Upper Ottawa Valley Chamber of Commerce, Cindy has shown her deep passion for small and medium enterprises in our community. She also volunteers with the Pembroke Scuba Club as treasurer, president of the Wreaths Across Canada, vice president of the Petawawa Minor Soccer Club, and a Rotarian. She is a dedicated military spouse and mother of 4 children. 2 are in the military. Cindy lives in Petawawa. Eileen Jones-White lives and teaches in Eganville. As a volunteer, Eileen has chaired the Training and Learning Center for Adults, founded and worked for both the Upper Valley Basketball Association and the Celebrate Your River paddle series. Eileen canoes, hikes, cycles, swims, skis, and snowshoes. She shares her love of being active outdoors with her husband and their 2 children. Eileen earned degrees at McMaster and the University of Toronto. She also served in the Canadian Armed Forces Reserves.
Hello, viewers at home, and welcome to Your Vote. My name is Peter Emon, and I'm pleased to be the moderator for this debate. Before we begin, I would like to acknowledge that today's debate is taking place on the unceded and traditional land and territory of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe people. Our format in this debate will look like this. I will pose a question to each of the candidates. The starting order for the first questions was chosen earlier today. Each of the candidates will have 2 minutes to answer the question. Extra time for answers may be allotted by the moderator, me, relative to their complexity of the question. Our debate will utilize a latch gate format. If a candidate should mention another candidate, party leader, or recognized platform of a party, that candidate will have an opportunity for a rebuttal. This rule is in place for all statements made by participants. Once rebuttals are complete, the next candidate in order will have the opportunity to respond. Cues will be given when there is 15 seconds left, and they will sound like this. And another cue will indicate the end of time that sounds like this. We will wrap up the program with each candidate having an opportunity to make their final remarks in reverse order of their opening responses. Final statements will be no longer than 2 minutes. In today's debate, yourTV is including those parties which at the time the general election was called, the party is represented in the House of Commons by a member of Parliament who was elected as a member of that party. These include the Liberals, Conservatives, New Democrats, and the Greens. Also running in this year's election is Randy Brian, candidate for the United Party of Canada, Stefan Cliche, an independent, Seth Molina, an independent. Under yourTV's free time policy, we have invited these candidates and offered them an opportunity to submit a 2-minute video recording their campaign goals. So we'll take our first question, our first topic, affordability. We've heard a great deal of chatter about family affordability, buying a first home, some of the challenges related to the cost of living, the cost of home heating, tariffs and taxes. And nobody really seems to be helping families participate in the workforce and supporting community growth. Our first question, how will you ensure increased and equitable federal investment in rural affordable housing, including options for seniors, workforce, and traditional needs to support our thriving communities? And Cindy, we'll start with you, and you have 2 minutes.
What a big question. Lots to unpack in there. Look, we can't control President Trump. We can't control, but we can help Canadians weather this storm. Liberals will continue to cut the cost to make life more affordable. We are experiencing a global inflation around the world. And on day one, Mark Carney did cut the carbon tax. And we've seen a dramatic decrease at the gas pumps. We're also hearing from fear-mongering that the carbon tax will be coming back. I want to be very clear, it's not. $10 daycare helps parents, whether you're a single parent or two-income, save approximately $16,000 a year. We're going to keep that up. We're also expanding the dental program to help from 18 to 60, or all along, for seniors and for families to ensure that they can get dental care. Also, we have, to expanding the economy, we are opening up offering $8,000 for apprenticeship for the trades, to bring skilled trade workers here. With that is actually a $20 million grants that will be offered to colleges, like Algonquin colleges, to help students. We also have the $500,000, or building 500,000 homes a year that are affordable for families across the country, while maintaining, eliminating the GST for first-time home owners that buy homes and purchase them under $1 million. And these are just a few of the measures that will help Canadians right here with the cost of living.
Thank you, Cindy. And Eileen, please.
Yes, thank you for this question, because as an NDP, that's kind of our specialty, is dealing with things that help everyday people. And as Cindy already mentioned, all the talk nowadays is about Trump and about affordability, and the two are absolutely intertwined. We can't predict, we can't control what he does, but there's lots of things that we can control. And as the NDP, we've got programs that are here to help people with everyday life, from things like, even if we just talk about the last Parliament, through the Supply and Confidence Grant, the Supply and Confidence Plan, we as the NDP, even small in numbers as we were able to bring dental care and pharmacare to Canadians. We have a housing program that I think is superior to the housing programs of the other parties, whereas the other parties have a housing program that removes GST for first-time home buyers up to $1 million home. We know that that really benefits the people who are affording the higher homes the most. We are investing in affordable housing, building rent-controlled housing on land that's already publicly owned. We're making CMHC-backed mortgages for first-time homeowners, and also on affordability, we aim to put money back into people's pockets, or to keep money in people's pockets. For taxes, for instance, we will cut the GST off essentials that your family needs, things like home heating, cell, internet, and building the homes that you can afford. Also, when building the homes that you can afford, I also wanted to mention that we have a policy for building homes for Canadian Armed Forces members as well, to also help our members of our armed forces as well as our everyday Canadians.
Thank you, Eileen. Yes, we'll give you a rebuttal.
Okay, so what I just want to mention is, as Eileen pointed out, we did work together with the NDP, but it was the Liberal government that reached out to get these things done, pharmacare and dental care.
Thank you. And we'll move on to climate change. Okay, thank you. Climate issues and how they impact our community and rip apart our homes and devastate our lives is a major worry for many residents and businesses across our region watching today. What steps will you take to secure increased federal funding for flood mitigation, wildlife protection, emergency planning, and climate adaptation infrastructure in Renfrew County to better prepare for the impacts of climate change? And Eileen, we'll start with you, and you have 2 minutes.
So climate change is real, and I'm really glad that you asked this question, because as people have said to me, we're not talking about climate change because of the current events that's going on with tariffs, etc. But the economy rests on the climate. Without a healthier climate, we don't have an economy. So we can't worry about anything else unless we deal with our climate. The Conservatives, for instance, don't even have a climate plan. It's really important that we make the big polluters pay. The carbon tax is ended, and we will keep the carbon tax off consumers, but we would put the onus on having the biggest polluters pay. And we will end subsidies. Currently, Canada pays the highest subsidies of all G7 countries to oil and gas. And it's time that we had the polluters pay. So we're also going to, just to go on to other things, we're going to talk about making homes more efficient. We have a plan that will retrofit millions of homes and making it more affordable for them to make it zero emission, make it more affordable for them to make them, there's no such thing as climate proof, but more climate resistant. We have, there's a certain, like right now, there's loopholes that big corporations have, big oil takes advantage of, and we'll close those loopholes, tax loopholes, so that we can have extra revenue to work on these plans that, to put towards these plans.
Thank you, Eileen. Cindy, you have 2 minutes.
All right. So I know there's a big belief from Pierre Poilievre that he wants us to believe that we have to choose between a thriving economy and fighting climate change, but we plan to do both. We need a climate policy that is unifying, credible, and predictable. In order to meet our objectives, which is reduce emissions, drive investment, and build a future economy-looking economy, being one of the strongest in the G7s. There are billions of dollars in investments on the table and millions of jobs at stake. Our plan removes the carbon tax while rewarding people for taking greener choices. The fact is, the big polluters are profiting from their actions, and Canadians are paying the price. Our plan will provide real incentives for Canadian households with things like homes and retrofits, transportation, and Zs. We're going to also advance 10 new national parks across the country and marine conservation areas. We need a Made in Canada focused approach, which will create a competitiveness in our industry, reward consumers, a competitive advantage, and a clean economy. So we want to keep Canada united in the important fight against climate change with a laser focus on our economy and healthcare, housing, and the threats of the sovereignty from the US.
Thank you. Just before we get into another topic, we want to introduce you to independent candidate Seth Molina. Seth was born and raised in the Valley. He grew up on base attending General Lake Public School, which is now Valor K-12. His mother taught at General Panay High School, which is also Valor K-12. And his father was a minister at the Zion Lutheran Church in Pembroke. His family then moved to Arnprior, and he's been living there, and they've been living there ever since. He attended Arnprior District High School, where he was fortunate enough to be heavily involved in student government, as well as getting opportunities within the town of Arnprior's advisory committees. He is currently attending Carleton University for Public Affairs and Policy Management, where he is continuing his education in politics. Seth hopes to continue to implement what he is learning in policy management to make a meaningful change for the Valley.
Hi there, my name's Seth Molina, and I am running as an independent candidate for this year's federal election. I'm choosing to run as an independent because I want to hold the parties accountable to their mandate to serve the people. My campaign platform covers 3 pillars: affordability, defense, and political transparency. Tackling affordability means removing the tax on overtime work, increasing the annual limit to TFSA contributions, and putting a federal cap on credit card interest rates to keep more of your money in your pocket. Political transparency means getting the information that you need in real time directly from your MP, not relying on media conglomerates, but directly from your MP. This will be done through press conferences up and down the Valley on a regular basis. That way you will constantly be getting all the information that you need, and a defense plan that recognizes the Valley's proximity to Ottawa and the geopolitics that that brings, recognizing the past and present contributions of Garrison Petawawa, putting an emphasis and a focus on infrastructure and defense along a Petawawa to Ottawa corridor, and to ensure that Canada remains a proudly independent sovereign nation. In a political landscape that is dominated by party politics, it is really important to have these conversations, and I'm so proud to be a part of it, whether elected or not, come the 28th. Really excited to get these conversations rolling and be able to hold our government accountable for the decisions they make that impact our lives.
Welcome back to the studio. These next few questions come from the Ontario Forest Industries Association. They have presented us with a series of inquiries pertaining to the forest sector. Northern communities depend on the prosperity of the forest industry. Trade barriers and industry consolidation across North America are threatening the viability of the sector. We have seen billions of dollars of investment and tax credits to the auto and battery manufacturing sectors in Southern Ontario. If you form the next government, what actions will you take to secure a similar level of investment in the forest industry for Northern and rural Ontario? And Cindy, we'll start with you. You have 2 minutes.
Wow, okay. Great question. Growing up on the West Coast, I love my trees. We hug them there. It's great. Forestry is an important it's an important industry here in the Valley, and it's important that we keep it going by planting trees. Oh my God, there's a bug on me. Sorry about that. It's important, lost my train of thought. Trees, it's important in the environment. We need trees. We need a forestry section. We have softwood. It's an important thing that we do import and use. And I don't really have great answer for this question. Sorry, Peter.
Okay, thank you. And Eileen, you have 2 minutes, please.
I just want to reiterate the fact that forestry is a really important industry to this area, and I'm actually inspired, Cindy, by what you're saying about the love of trees too, right? Because we love our trees, so there's that nature part of us who love our trees, and then it's how important the industry is to our sector. And the forestry, people in the forestry that we have locally, they are also the managers of our forests. So I have talked with people from local forestry industry who have pointed out that quite some time ago, our forestry industry here in Renfrew, Algonquin, Renfrew, Pembroke, that we have diversified quite well. And that, and that stands us in our good stead, that there are lots of forestry industries more further north who are very dependent on the States, And our concern is what the effect if they're looking to us then as the next market. So we need to work really carefully about bringing down the interprovincial trade barriers. We also need to work about finding a new market. So I think Scott is the economic development officer for the county, but he was telling me that Hokies out of Golden Lake, for instance, they deal with their wood and they shrink wrap it and then send it so that it's ready to send to Europe. And so there's things like that that we're doing in like here locally that shows that we have a step for diversifying. And I think the important thing for us to do is to continue to support the small and medium-sized foresters, mills, et cetera, that we have so that they can diversify and withstand the tariffs coming from the south and the rest of Canada's industry looking for a market.
Thank you. The forest industry is a cornerstone of the Ottawa Valley economy, and forest biomass is rapidly emerging as a clean energy alternative. What steps will you take to ensure that procurements use forest biomass and forest products in federal infrastructure projects, especially when these projects take place in Algonquin, Renfrew, Pembroke? Cindy, we'll start with you. You have 2 minutes.
I get to start twice, okay. Okay. What steps to take with forestry in Algonquin? With the 500,000 homes that are being built annually, I would hope that we could be a voice in Ottawa. I would be a voice in Ottawa to ensure that our wood, our forest products here, made locally, are used when we are assimilating those homes. Also, when it comes to the new economy that we will be building, Mark Carney, being one of the top, he knows the world, he knows economics, he's building us a strong economy, is to make sure our lumber is shipped without tariffs or minimal tariffs and be an advocate for our forestry supply when it comes to our products here in the valley.
Okay, thank you. And Eileen, you have 2 minutes, please.
So the forestry and biomass as an energy alternative, I think that's a really, once again, it's a very important question because as I mentioned earlier, or maybe even alluded to, as opposed to actually mentioning, we need to, it ties in with the previous question, this is really what I'm trying to say, climate and forestry industry, we need to develop alternative forms of energy. And as you've already said, forestry biomass is a great energy alternative. So it's really important, I mentioned before about the subsidies and all the money that we pay to oil and gas. This money should be coming to us in our taxes and should be used to help develop these alternative forms of energy, be it research into alternative forms of energy, be it marketing and developing business for alternative forms of energy. The paradigm is shifting, but we need to support workers through that paradigm shift from the traditional oil and gas into alternative forms. And our forest industry in particular, biomass, is a great opportunity for Algonquin, Renfrew, Pembroke to get in on that paradigm shift. But I don't think I made that clear. What I also meant is that as NDP, we want to support the workers as they transition to the new industries, the new forms of energy.
Thank you. The Ontario Forest Industries Association is hoping for the opportunity for Canada and Ontario to start using more locally produced lumber to help solve our housing problems, and to use local biomass to help solve our energy and heating problems. We want to thank them for submitting questions to our debate. Just before we move to another topic, we want to introduce you to independent candidate Stefan Cleach. Stefan was a candidate in 3 previous elections. This year, he pursued candidacy with a new political party, but then he refused a last-minute demand that all communications as a candidate must be approved centrally. After completing elementary and high school education in Renfrew, Stefan acquired a bachelor in political science from the University of Ottawa and a master's degree in political science from University of Carleton. He also has a certificate from University of Ottawa recognizing his national security studies.
Hi, I'm Stefan. I have much experience in political parties and I remain involved in them. Parties are fundamental to Westminster democratic systems. However, there is a time and place to support a non-party candidate when party institutions have become poor at listening and taking national and global issues seriously. So I am running on a unique platform which includes the following: changing the Constitution of Canada to limit early elections, unjust prorogations, and abuse of the notwithstanding clause, allowing citizens to petition to table bills to the House of Commons, increasing the number of MPs for more direct and localized riding representation while decreasing MPs' salaries, regulation and taxation of recreational drugs to eliminate the dangerous black market, ending public subsidies to most legacy media except for a fully public CBC, reforming corporate income taxation to above average corporate profits, reducing income taxes in favor of a higher GST, repealing the dairy monopoly to lower consumer prices and create new businesses, repealing the Canada Post monopoly on letter services, supporting a federal bulk buying pharmaceutical plan, ending all subsidies for political parties, cash payments to reward voter turnout, leaving the 31-year FIPA that allows Chinese state companies to sue for Canadian tax dollars, taxation of animal slaughter, opposing weapon sales to Saudi Arabia and Israel, cutting costs in Canadian military spending by ending binational procurement strategies, permitting Indigenous bands to legalize private property on their reserves. I continue to run on the principles of objectivity, integrity, and independence. The House of Commons needs more intellectual leadership, and I believe that Renfrew County will help to make that happen. I may be contacted at electstefan@gmail.com or on various blogs or social media. Thank you.
Welcome back to the studio. These next few questions come from the business community and were provided by the Upper Ottawa Valley Chamber of Commerce. We're going to talk about the economy now. And as Canada assumes the G7 presidency, the Canadian Chamber of Commerce is honored to be the official host of the G7 summit in Ottawa next month. How do you see Canada's position on the world economic stage? What direction do you and your party see Canada taking with trade relationships fluctuating as they are right now? Eileen, we'll start with you. You have 2 minutes.
Canada has a multifaceted role on the world stage. Our role includes things like protecting and promoting human rights, advancing peace and security, upholding the rule of law, addressing climate change. And part of the way we do this is through trade. We also do it through trade and then we use organizations of which we are a member. Some are trade organizations such as CUSMA, the Trans-Pacific Trade Agreement, the Canada-EU Agreement, the Canada-UK Agreement, and it is through those memberships that we are able to yield a higher power than we would isolating ourselves, we would as a single country. So we typically yield our power through working with others who are like-minded. We've also yielded, so these trade agreements help to build a diversified trade. I just want to bring this back to us here. Through these trade agreements, because I've been talking about diversifying our markets. These are other markets that we have that we can sell our goods to, sell our services to, and that we can trade with. And it's not just selling, it's also buying. Some of what's hitting us right now are the things that we need to buy from the United States as well. So these are, I'm going to bring that right back around to the fact that our current biggest trading partner is unreliable, and we have other options to diversify because of our partnerships and because of our stance standing up for people.
Thank you. And Cindy, you now have 2 minutes.
All right. This is my wheelhouse. There are 3 important parts, I think, Peter, to this question, to the answer to this question that is complex and essential. Leadership, trade, diversification, and nation building nationally and of course locally. Leadership is, everyone agrees that this is a critical election in Canada. Everything is at stake, and Mark Carney is the leader that we need, and really that is the ballot question this election. He's a proven leader through crisis with strong connections around the world. As Trump presents a great threat, but also he represents an opportunity for us this election in Canada. And Mark Carney recognizes that. I think we can all clearly and proudly picture him leading this G7 summit in June. He knows how the economy works and what it really takes to make a great economy, our economy, one of the strongest in the G7. So we must grow our economy by expanding trade within Canada and other countries. In the first days of the office, he traveled to Europe, not to Washington, in a strategic play to strengthen alliances. We must diversify and build our homegrown capacity for self-reliance. Canada is rich in national resources. I'm inspired with people about building Carney's great vision for a national building. This includes getting the provinces, which is starting to happen, to tear down their interprovincial trade barriers as we build an economy that incentivizes industry and consumers. And that means opening more doors for our local economy here when it comes to agriculture, forestry, our businesses, our nuclear and defense, as we hit the 2% GDP in 2030.
Thank you. Labor shortages persist, making manufacturing and resource industries in our county less competitive. We have critical gaps in skilled trades in our region. What enhancements or changes would you advocate for to address these shortfalls? So Eileen, we'll start with you. You have 2 minutes.
Labor shortages, you're right. It's very much where we are right now. And the NDP, we are very strong in helping workers and being there for our workers. So our plans are to help workers as they transition into new stages. I, as a teacher, have also talked with many people who are heading off into the work world, and they're looking for multiple ways of being able to access the work world. Some people I've talked to are looking for accommodations for the work world. Some people are looking as to how to get their qualifications for the work world. And we do this through a stronger education program. And I know that education is provincial, but we will support the college programs, we will support the apprenticeship programs as the NDP, we will support workers, we will support businesses to be able to help create the jobs for workers. So I think that I know that we have always been a party of the workers, and it's very important that I just add that we will continue to be, and we will continue to help not just prepare people for the workforce, but also employers, so that the employment conditions for the workers, they have protections through health and safety, they have protections through unionized jobs. It's who we are. We're the party for the workers.
Thank you, Eileen. And Cindy, you now have 2 minutes.
As a small business owner of Canadian Military Family Magazine and the president of the Chamber of Commerce, we're hearing, especially as the president of the Chamber of Commerce, businesses are having a struggle finding people to work, and people are finding difficult to have those jobs where they can get their apprenticeship. When Canada is in need, workers step up. We saw that during the pandemic. And we're going to see, when we have workers in Canada, my party will be there for them during this crisis. That's why the Carney government is investing with an $8,000 for an apprenticeship training cost to create more opportunities, more skilled labor, and more good jobs. It'll go hand in hand with, as I mentioned before, the $20 million fund to support colleges with an influx of students they will have. We'll cut red tape, more labor mobility between provinces, again, trading interprovincially. Our area is an amazing place and a welcoming place to live. We attract new skilled workers, and we need to grow the local economy, as it's been mentioned, and also invest in innovation and growth, as we must do this mindfully and at a measured pace to ensure that we have housing, our healthcare system can support the growth in order to maintain our way of life in the valley.
Thank you. As our Member of Parliament, what message would you bring to Ottawa on behalf of business in the Ottawa Valley and your riding? And Cindy, we'll start with you. You have 2 minutes.
I've had a great opportunity to attend a day out with the farmers last week. And last night, we hosted an evening where the farmers we had an open house. Nope. We hosted a town hall with local farmers who had an opportunity to speak with the agricultural minister, Corey Blois. And it was a great conversation, and it's doing that, connecting, where they could ask questions, and doing that with all of our industries, being that voice in Ottawa, where we can connect, get answers, get our products out there, let them know what we need, let Ottawa hear us, so that we have that path to trade for the products in the Ottawa Valley that will grow our local businesses and then also grow our community.
Thank you. And now we'll turn to Eileen, please.
Small and medium businesses are the lifeblood of our economy. And it's so, like Cindy, I also had the opportunity to go and do a farm tour last week. We've had that chance to talk with small and medium business people recently. And it's really clear that that there are barriers to getting to the market, and that we as the NDP, we would fight towards reducing these interprovincial business tariffs to allow small businesses and agro businesses to trade across the country. Supply management is very important in our local agribusiness people, and they have made it very clear they want us to support to protect supply management, and that's 100% what the NDP would do. I think, when I'm saying like they've made it clear, I also want to make it clear that it's communicating among people so that we continue this conversation with our industries, with our small and medium businesses around the riding, and that we understand what they need, because it is hearing people and then moving forward. So like I said, some issues that were made really clear in the conversations last week, yeah, we'd bring those forward. And it's things like also increasing our own market within and our access to the market within Algonquin, Renfrew, Pembroke. So in general, as we face this uncertainty that we're having now, and then the general times that we've had even before Trump came in on the scene, we need to support our businesses as they retool by helping them with better access to the markets, helping them reduce and helping them get the reductions to barriers that they are asking for.
Thank you. And thank you to the Upper Ottawa Valley Chamber of Commerce for sharing your questions. The Ottawa Valley Tourism Association has kindly provided us with a series of questions aimed at gaining insights into the local tourism sector. This will assist in gaining a better understanding of the region's tourism dynamics and opportunities to grow. Tourism is a major economic driver in Renfrew County. What specific policies or programs will you advocate to support tourism businesses in our rural region? Eileen, we'll start with you, and you have 2 minutes, please.
I think that when you're asking the question, what would you advocate? I think that like the biggest and most important thing is to know what exactly is it that the tourism business wants us to advocate for. And I have, as a member of the Ottawa Valley, I struggle with the acronym, Ottawa Valley Active Transportation Committee, there's a C in there. I know from, for instance, from that group, that we are looking for more, for ways in which we can bring people in to tourism in, and then give them places to stay, give them places to park, give them places to bring their business, but also make the infrastructure for, in that case, that's a cycling group. In other cases, it's groups with, you know, it's families with their trailers, it's families out for a day trip. And it's also making it possible for our, as I've stated, the infrastructure that brings people here, but then also making it better known, getting the word out there to people. So allowing our local businesses to get their word out there as to what it is that they can, what it is that we offer. We are, it was said in the introduction to this program, we are a land of natural beauty, and we need to play up our natural beauty in who we are. And I think that's what attracts people to our area. And I think, therefore, giving grants and giving subsidies, making it financially possible for people to start these small businesses or retain the small businesses that bring our people here. I think it's all about supporting the local economy.
And thank you. And Cindy, you have 2 minutes.
Could you just repeat the question, please, Peter?
Certainly.
Thank you.
Tourism is a major economic driver in Renfrew County. What specific policies or programs will you advocate for to support tourism businesses in our rural region?
So tourism is a huge industry and brings in a lot of revenue. And I think it's about getting the word out and working with the agencies that have already been created to ensure that people know about our beautiful, beautiful county, our riding of Algonquin, Renfrew, and Pembroke. It is vast, it is lovely. We have from Deep River to Barry's Bay, down to Eganville and Armprior. We have one of the most beautiful counties in Canada. And it's about working with our ministers and have a voice in caucus to make sure we get our fair share of revenue when it comes to marketing for our businesses here, because we have plenty, and I know their doors are opened and they are looking for customers, and it will be our job to make sure we get that, their fair share.
Thank you. Many tourists are drawn to our region for outdoor experiences and activities, but rural infrastructure like roads, signage, and public rest stops are often underfunded. How will you, as our federal representative, advocate for better federal investment in rural tourism infrastructure? Cindy, we will start with you. You have 2 minutes.
So when we're talking about this question, having a little, anyways, there are, I think as we go along the corridor of the 401, we can see these investments that have been made for tourism, for people to stop. I think it becomes, Peter, more so of a working with businesses that are willing to open up. It's a two-way street. It's getting the funding and finding the people that are willing to open up or host businesses that will allow our travelers to use rest areas. As we've all known, as we move forward, there's a lot of signs where you can't stop in at a coffee shop. They want you to buy something. It's a great need. I've noticed that as we travel from Petawawa often to Ottawa, there are very few rest stops for people to. So I think it's working again with the government to find out where the funding is available and working with local businesses here and local entities to create that connection to have those resources built.
Thank you, Cindy. And Eileen, you have 2 minutes.
Yeah, it really does come down to if we want more people to stop, we need to build better infrastructure. And building better infrastructure includes things like, as you mentioned, rest stops, transit. I just realized that in my last question, I didn't even address transit, right? We want to be able to, but it's things like transit to rest stops, signage. I know that I live, for instance, in Eganville, and Eganville in the last few years has done a great big thing about using signage to make clear what's in the business. But these are relationships through different levels of government, municipal government, regional government, provincial government, federal government, these are corridors of communications that need to be used more frequently because the federal government's role in a lot of this is the funding of it, but we need to make it a priority for these other levels of government. And we need to also encourage things that, we need to encourage infrastructure that is good for the economy. So I'm going to bring that back to transit, whether it be transit going through the corridors, the Highway 60 corridor, the Highway 17 corridor that takes people through both ends of our county, or it's not really both ends, but through both directions of our county, or whether it be, and then most importantly, encouraging people to stop. It's those ways in that Highway 17 corridor, it's those ways off Highway 17 that we need to encourage.
Thank you. It would not be an election if we did not touch on connectivity for our region. So much of what we do involves access from our homes to our bank, to education, to some family entertainment, and increasingly to our healthcare provider. We do not want to be left behind. What will your party do to ensure rural high-speed, cellular, and digital equity in our region? Eileen, we'll start with you, and you have 2 minutes.
Oh my goodness, Peter, you are talking to somebody who was constantly on meetings saying, sorry. Oh, I can't put my camera on because I don't have the internet available for it. And so on a personal level, I totally understand what you mean. And then from the healthcare, that's a very important part. We are very strong proponents of public healthcare, and part of public health care, as you have just said, nowadays includes connectivity. So it's all part of our building Canada better, building jobs, keep building Canadian. We will invest in bringing higher speed internet to rural areas, and not just to the main corridors of rural areas, but without the rural areas. It was mentioned that I'm a teacher. We use internet in the schools all the time. This comes from federal funding, and it comes from federal funding that is tied to development in this area. And as the NDP, we are great believers in equity and equality, and we will fund to bring greater equity and equality in connectivity in Canada, especially to the north and rural areas.
Thank you, Eileen. And Cindy, you now have 2 minutes.
Can you just repeat the question again?
Sure.
Please. Yes.
Increasingly, we need connectivity and access from our homes to our bank, to education, to some family entertainment, and increasingly to our healthcare provider. We do not want to be left behind. What will your party do to ensure rural high-speed, cellular, and digital equity in our region?
I think clearly, Peter, it's about having a voice in caucus. It's about advocating for the people of our region. It's about knocking on doors and ensuring things get done quickly here. This has been an issue for 25 years, and we're still here. Well, maybe not 25, but it's been a time, and we're still working on this. It's preposterous. We need to be getting our fair share from Ottawa to ensure we have the funding to work at a municipal and provincial level so that everybody has access to high-speed internet or internet that is quick and doesn't time out, along with cell service.
Okay, thank you. And we are at the point now. We have only 2 minutes before we end the show. And so we want to ask each candidate a quick question with a 1-minute response. While you're campaigning, what is the most important issue you've been hearing from the constituents in our riding? And Cindy, we will start with you. You have 1 minute.
I think the most important thing we've been hearing, as in every election, it's the same line. This is the most important election. It's critical. This time, we feel it, everybody is feeling it in our bones. Everything has changed when our sovereignty became threatened. Mark Carney is the leader for these dramatic times. He's proven himself on the international stage for handling some of Canada's world's biggest crises and challenges. Canada Strong isn't just a slogan, it's a commitment, it's a battle cry. And locally, there hasn't been a lot of opportunity for change here for the last over 20 years. Today, I want to be a clear message, and that is to my fellow Ottawa Valley neighbors. We can win this election, but we need your help. We're asking all of you who have felt that your voice didn't matter, it really matters this election. We are asking you to come out. We're asking you to support us.
Thank you. And Eileen, you have 1 minute.
Yeah, without a doubt, the thing that people want to talk about is affordability. Sorry, it's affordability and Trump and his tariffs, and as I've said, those are absolutely intertwined. And they bring that down also, so in that we as the NDP, we have the policies that deal with bringing affordability, and that even in small numbers, large numbers, we use our power to keep things affordable for people. Through things like dental care, pharmacare, removing GST, and then that, because that ties us into that accountability issue. Like, we need representation in Parliament that speaks to us as a people, serves us as a people for who we are, what our values are. We need to feel that we are all in this together and that we have representation who is part of us and with us. And that's the NDP. And that's the NDP for us.
Thank you. Now we're moving to closing statements. It's been a very informative afternoon, and as we come to a close, each candidate will now have the opportunity to give their closing statements. Okay. They can't be longer than 2 minutes, and we're going to go in the reverse order of the opening questions. And first up will be Eileen, and we'll start with you, and you have 2 minutes.
Well, when talking with people of Algonquin, Renfrew, Pembroke, everyone wants to talk about the uncertainty of our time, and we all have concerns about affordability and accountability. We need an MP who is willing to fight with us, the working and middle-class people of Algonquin, Renfrew, Pembroke, and that requires change. In the last year alone, Ms. Gallant has voted against an increase to the minimum wage, against a national strategy to combat food insecurity, and against measures to lower food costs. For years in Algonquin, Renfrew, Pembroke, we have been told that others threaten our way of life. Ironically, it's those who are sowing the seeds of fear and disinformation who most threaten our way of life. Because here in the Valley, we support our community. We help our neighbors. That's why an NDP MP best represents our values. The NDP supports us in our everyday lives with issues like affordable housing, removing GST from cell, internet. This is our elbows up moment, Canada, and we've come together and we're prepared to fight back against the threats to our sovereignty and our way of life coming from our American neighbor. In this last Parliament, the NDP had 25 seats, and with 25 seats, we managed to bring in many programs which are excellent to making life more affordable. I keep coming back to dental care and pharmacare, which were our platform issues, and that we had the Liberals bring in. it's from back in the days of Tommy Douglas bringing in Medicare to now, to our promises to build Canada, buy Canadian. The NDP have proven time and time again that we're here for you. So in the spirit of Jack Layton, hope is stronger than despair, love is stronger than hate, and community is stronger than divisiveness.
Thank you. And Cindy, you now have 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you, Peter. As I mentioned in the last statement, every election we do hear the same thing. But this one is very critical. As we visit doors and we talk to our neighbors in the Ottawa Valley, they're feeling it, they sense it, they want a strong leader. And that strong leader is Mark Carney. He is the leader for these times. He has been on the international stage. He has handled some of Canada and the world's biggest crises over the past 2 decades. He navigated us through the 2008 financial crisis. As I mentioned, Canada Strong is not a slogan, it is a commitment, it is our battle cry. And locally, there hasn't been an opportunity for change. Today, as I mentioned, I want to deliver a clear message. People are coming to the Liberals. We are pulling people. They want change in our community. They want to ensure that we have the right man at the right place at the right time, and that is Mark Carney. I'm hearing from fiscal conservatives that they know Mark Carney is the leader for these times. I'm hearing from progressive NDP and Green voters that they know this is a two-way race. They want their vote to matter, and that is why many are supporting me. They are ready to vote for change locally and here and now. As I mentioned, I need to speak, I want to speak to the 38,000 voters who have not voted and casted their ballots in the last few elections. I understand. For many of you, it has felt pointless. The same person has been elected for over 25 years. So what's the point? I'm telling you today that there is a pathway. It includes voters from all camps. It includes all of us. And we need you. Your vote matters, and it will make a difference this election. Vote for me, vote for change. The energy of this campaign is incredible. Join us. You won't regret it.
Thank you, Cindy. We appreciate everyone who tuned in for the debate. We hope it helped you in making informed choices as we approach the election on April 28th. Stay engaged and keep the conversation going. As we've heard today, every vote counts. Thank you to the candidates for caring about our community and letting your name stand in this election. And thank you to the many folks behind the scenes who work so hard at yourTV to inform our community. I'm Peter Emon. Please vote April 28th to elect your MP for Renfrew, Algonquin, Renfrew, Pembroke.